CQ POTA, this is Kilo Charlie 1, Mike Echo Bravo, and Park Kilo 1676, calling CQ POTA.
Hello, and welcome to the 741 channel. Today, you're going to see highlights from the Connecticut POTA Meetup that was organized by Don, W1FYG, and held at Hamonasset State Park in the middle of October 2021. Several of the Connecticut POTA activators took the time to talk about some of their gear, the setup that they use when they go out on a POTA activation. They also shared some tips, tricks, and just general information about POTA activating and POTA in general. So I tried to break the clips up into sort of topical sections. The first part of the video is sort of an introduction and sort of some basic information about POTA. The middle of the video is going to be sort of the show and tell, where everybody talks about the gear that they use. And then the end of the video is what I'll call potpourri, or maybe more advanced POTA information. There'll be chapters down in the video description so you can skip to the sections that you're most interested in. I'll also leave some links that might be helpful down there as well. So first up is the introduction to the Connecticut POTA Meetup and some basic information about POTA here in Connecticut.
Wanted to do this because I feel the best thing we can do is share ideas. I'm just walking around, I'm looking around, man, we got a vast bunch of ideas and mental brain power, man. We can probably outmaneuver NASA right now if we had to.
I don't know about that.
We're going to take our past experiences, or someone's going to need some rope or some string, and some guy, I got it over here for you, right? The only thing we don't have today is coffee and donuts and hot dogs and hamburgers. But again,
why not?
Why didn't you bring it? I don't know about you guys, but I got involved just prior to COVID. And during COVID, I'm like, okay, I'm still playing radio. So to me, this POTA thing has really helped me personally just get through the day-to-day of the bad thing called COVID, work, just creating a balance. I've been a ham radio operator for almost 30 years now, and I'm still learning. That's the beauty of this hobby. I'm still learning, man. But I've learned more through POTA about HF propagation, some of the apps that are available to us, and different antennas. Some antennas are going to be better than others, okay? Those single monoband whips, they're okay. They'll get you on the air, but a wire's going to do you a heck of a lot better. But you may be at a location where you can't put the wire up. So what do? You either don't activate, or you do what we say in the YouTube world, ham harder, right?
I don't know anything about that.
You know a lot about that. We ham harder. I think we're also blessed of having something called YouTube. Okay, I started a YouTube channel, Smoke Signals RF. Go to it, guys. Check out some of the things that I've done. I've taken some items that are not ham radio related, and I incorporated them into my ham radio for POTA. Winter field day, regular field day. I don't care who the sponsor is. I'm here to have fun. But I think POTA, we're sort of our own little club in a little way. But I like to see more clubs possibly. If your club wants to do it, get out. Or if you want to just do it by yourself, then do it by yourself. I support it all. The most important thing is getting on the radio. Connecticut, right now, 133 parks in Connecticut. We're Steve. I was telling Steve, we are blessed. We are blessed. Connecticut is the size of a county anywhere else around the country. Our state is very, very lucky. There's 133 parks. There is a park everywhere within, I don't know, a couple miles from where you live.
People are surprised. The guys out west will travel 3 hours to get to a park. Yeah. Right? Here, I tell them I have every single park in Connecticut. I live in New Britain. That's the dead center of the state. Within 1 hour of my house is every single park in the state of Connecticut.
For the new people, I tell you right now, and we'll help you, find a park that's maybe close to your house, or maybe a park that you've already been to, but you didn't even realize it's on the roster of POTA. Go to that park, operate, have fun, keep it simple. The actual POTA.org website has every single rule. I tell everyone, read those things 3 times, not once. You got to comprehend it again, because on the Facebook Parks on the Air, I see these questions that pop up so many times. It's right there, already been answered for you. Okay, regarding general rules.
Google Maps is over trusted. It is an effective tool, but they just recently, I've had a big thing. If you can find an old DEP map, there's a lot. The state took on a lot of property late 90s, early 2000, and if you can find one of those PDF maps of something like that, if you're unsure, that's the golden ticket. That's what I had to submit. I've got thousands of them. Not thousands, but I got hundreds of them.
I used the POTA map extensively. Okay? I used the Connecticut DEP forestry maps and that whole section. Connecticut, you know, there's good and bad about our state. The one thing our state that I do like what they did was the state website is fantastic, especially when it comes to deep. Okay?
Next up, let's take a look at some of the gear that Connecticut POTA activators use when out at the parks.
That G90, man, when that thing came out, I mean, it's available on Amazon. So even if you're not into POTA, you just want to play with HF period, it's a great option for a lot of, it's a great entry rig, as well as could be a lifetime rig, depending on how you're going to use it, you know. Well, now for power, what do you do for power? I'm using
the 20 amp hour LifePro battery. That's my primary, and then backup I can hook straight to the vehicle.
And what antennas do you normally use?
Using the NFED half wave that's behind me. It's the NCOM 3, again off of Amazon.
Yep.
Hello, this is Josh, AF1UD here for Parks on the Air event going on in Hamonasset Beach Park. And I got my Go kit here, ICOM 7100 with a tuner. I got my super antenna over there, just a little basic setup. It has a Bio-Eno 12 volt 30 amp hour battery. And just a little homemade jobby here with a solar charge controller.
You built this all yourself, right? And you've got the power and the charge controller tucked in below?
Yep, I got the charge controller spitting out right here. I have to disconnect it when it's not in use. It's not fused, so it was draining the battery when it was just idling. But it works fine. Had really good luck with it so far.
The G90, this is same thing. I got my G90. This is one I use my backpacking and such. Similar to what he used. I've been using my super antenna, which is in this box here, but I've been using it for with the price of gas going up, I've been taking my wife's car. You know, we try to go out Sunday afternoon and do, because this thing, I can do all bands, all modes, things I want the FCC to hear, all that other kind of crap. This little battery pack thing here is great. It's my little heartbreaker, because this is what this is about. This is one, the stand for my G90, but also pushes the on-off button. I got to an activation, a pretty good hike, and I didn't realize the thing had turned itself on. And
whoops.
I got this actually used on eBay or something from a guy out of Canada. I got a bunch of other stuff with it. The other gentleman uses the cooling. There's a cooling thing. So far as if you're doing entry level, on 20, this will do 20 watts. I try to stay under 15, which I believe technically is QRP sideband, not CW. It's a one of the great things about this is you don't need an analyzer. If you're using like the super antenna or any of the Wolf River coils, this thing has an excellent analyzer graphing, and like I say, for the price of this, you won't go wrong. Not much for filters, so if you're in like a place like this, you'll have no trouble at all. But if you're in like Mansfield Hollow, you're gonna fight a little bit.
Fight the noise.
Other than that, this one here, this is actually my current one that's in the back of my wife's car that I keep going around. So I use the super antenna, Wolf River coil, pretty much the same thing. I don't know who copied who. Takes my smaller analyzer has failed. So, and haven't been using the Zygo. Was using my 891, but now I want to go back to my 7100, but without the tuner, so I don't have to drag that along. The nice thing about 700, which is something to keep in mind, don't work for any of these companies, and similar to the 7300 inside, it does do UHF, VHF also, which I don't really do on POTA much at all. I'll bring an HT. It has a recorder, which is 7300 too. I've had a couple ones where and it's recording everything, your band, your times, and all that stuff. A little tricky to learn it, but when you get into a pile up and then you change bands, or if you're hunting, it'll get a little bit crazy. So that's saved me a couple times. So I'm kind of trying to switch back to that. If you're going out looking for batteries, Bio came into market. They did a great job of tailoring to our stuff, but they're a little bit pricey. But they did a great job. So they kind of got it all going. Dakota is a brand that I've been buying these. Dakota, they do like for boats and stuff like that.
Does it come with the can?
No, I work in a recycling facility, and this happened to come in as someone discarded. It's from a trail cam.
Okay.
And it had a regular lead acid battery in it. So that's my own little.
So you repurposed the purpose.
Yes, that's what the DEP tells me to do for my license.
Yes.
Not this license, a different license.
Oh, hams are great, aren't we?
Yeah. So yeah, anything. Well, we all talk about that, the repurposing. Yeah, so I was gonna, I don't know, maybe get this set up today. I don't actually work on my truck anymore because you don't need much to do this. I mean, anybody who's new here or listening in, you don't need much. It's a lot of fun to be fully loaded. I can literally stop just using the tar heel and my 102-inch whip, which there's actually a hole that goes into the passenger compartment there. I can screw that on and do most bands, anything. I don't use a tuner with that anymore. I'm going to set up probably a similar pole to what Don's got there, the fiberglass. I think that's an MFJ one. You know, they're kind of pricey, but they're worth it. I also have for my camper a jack kite makes a pole that's friction, and I use an end fed on that. This I have a doublet that I actually use for parks on the air, and a little tricky to tune sometimes, but boy, does that, you got no loss whatsoever. Yeah, I used, oh actually I didn't have the auto tuner in this kit. I took the one out of the truck here so I can get auto tuners like the same thing. In no opinion, MFJ makes all these things. These people, I love these people. They've been great support. LDG. Yep. You can find these things laying all over my house, in my pocket. I think there's one in my dog's collar. They're supporting everything. I don't know how many of these I got. They're great. I hear people bashing them, but it's just opinions, just like Icon versus
on the air. And I only started with parks on the air this past May. And what I'm finding is there's lots of parks. It's easy, it's fun. You get a lot more contacts than Summits on the air. I didn't want to invest a whole lot of money in this until I figured out whether I liked it or not. So I basically took my entire station from home and put it in the car. So I don't do anything portable. I don't put this in a backpack and go very far from the car. So from the back of the car, I got my 7300 from home. I got my MFJ tuner. I did get a LifePo battery, which once you've used sealed lead acids a couple of times, you're going to want a LifePo battery. I bought the individual cells rather than buy one assembled. I just got 4 cells in here and I bundled them together, and you end up with 25 amp hours for $70, which if you can do it, it's a good way to get a lot of power. This has never let me down. This thing will run 5 hours at 100 watts, and then I just charge it up and do it again. I've tried 2 different antennas. I've tried a vertical and I've tried a dipole. So my first dipole was 20 feet tip to tip. I could make my 10 contacts, but it wasn't easy. So I switched to a vertical. I put up a 20-foot vertical. And again, it was a little better, but it wasn't great. So then I went to this. I've got this inverted V. This is my go-to antenna right now. So I'm 16 feet at the apex and 100 feet tip to tip. And with this, I can get a pile up. I can work 60 contacts in an hour. I'm going to go back to a vertical for when you need the smaller footprint. But when I've got the room, I've used this the last 10 times in a row. It sets up pretty easily. It tunes very easily. Right. Well, you know, I set it up quickly this morning. Oh, it's not even plugged in yet.
You're still 5 and 9. Hey, listen, you're still going to go inside my alarm. Don't worry.
But I've had great luck with ladder line. I use it at home as well. And you know, you don't want to run it by metal, but other than that, it just works all bands, low loss. You don't have to worry about matching. If you have a very poor match and you run 100 feet of coaxial cable and tune it at the transmitter end, that coaxial cable is going to give you a lot of loss. Correct. And with this, just not an issue. And it's almost free to make this.
Satellite station. It's an ICOM 9700 connected to a laptop. Laptop's running SAT PC 32. Also can run WSJTX if you want to do FT4 on the satellites. As far as our antenna setup, we have an Arrow antenna. This is not the stock boom. Bean was able to get it from another satellite operator who wanted to help her out. It's a lot more lightweight than the stock one. Stock one doesn't have all these holes in it, and it's a little bit heavy as you're getting a pass that's, you know, more than 10 minutes. It starts to wear on the arm. As far as the cable, it's RG8X. For descents, we have a duplexer that's acting as a bandpass filter and a dummy load connected to that on the 2-meter side. So basically when you're transmitting, if you have too much power going out, you can get some descents on the satellites coming down and you can't hear yourself or other stations right after you transmit. So that's what that's for. We have a homemade battery case that we use. Power pole connections, 12-volt car cigarette lighter and USB, as well as these poles here. So the other thing that we have is table and chairs, because we have so much here. There's some satellite operators who will actually put rails on these things and do it across their neck, and they'll manually tune. We do easy mode, and we have the PC do all of the Doppler shift on the satellites. Also, some of the satellites that are advertised, their frequencies aren't exact, so you got to adjust the RIT on the radio as well. Another piece that I haven't mentioned yet is there's apps on your phone that'll allow you to track satellites in real time, and that's how I know where to point the antenna as the satellite's coming by. So I'll be able to hear whatever she's doing on this radio, and then be able to adjust the antenna for polarization as the satellite's going by.
First of all, if I was looking for an antenna system to go with, so I was looking at the different ones, and I decided to go with the Wolf River coil. That's what's on here, and the I think it's a 102-inch whip on it. When I first got it, I got it with the it came with the stand you would put on the ground and run maybe 3 radials off of it. But again, I'm thinking it's more of a pain putting the radials out. And in the park, I'm putting flags so people won't step on it and so on. So I was lucky; I was able to hook to the truck, and I didn't put any straps on, but it goes all the way to the front of the truck. So I used the truck makes a very good radio. So basically, I come out and I just run my coax to the front of the truck. I use a Yaesu Yaesu F891 with an automatic tuner. Again, really simple. I mean, at least I could set this up. I usually just run 20 and 40 meters off of this, but then Dave and Sean kept going on 80, so I said, well, I guess I got to bite the bullet, and I pick up the 80 coil, the larger coil. So basically, I just leave it where it is. When I want to do 80, I start at 80. I put this on, whatever I can get on 80. Then I'll just switch to this one, and I can really eyeball where 20 and 40 is on this one. For a battery, again, try to keep it simple. Just Jackery, one of the smaller ones. And again, I plug it in and use the power pole connectors like everybody else, and it worked really well. The only thing, the limit with this one is small, and it does cut off at 100 watts. So I have to keep the 891 running about 40 watts because it puts out about maybe 75 when I'm transmitting. But 40 watts on POTA is fine. And I can go, an hour, and it's only down about 85%, so I can probably go all day here. I did pick up, this is large, this is a 200-inch whip, but the problem becomes if I want to use it with the 80, the weight on here, even though it's on the truck, it'll tip. So I gotta set up something that has a little more of a, maybe do it off and put this in the bed of the truck and use the 80 and the longer whip. But when you put the 80 coil in this whip, she wants to go. And it doesn't take much to just bend this a bit. It's pretty heavy, but it still bends.
All I did was preserve the edge, and that wooden board sits on it. The beauty of this is, if I may, I can pull this out. Sometimes I'll throw a towel up on the dashboard, pop the board up, hook up my 3 wires, 3 connections, that's all there is. Boom, boom, boom. Antenna on the roof. I'm active in 5 minutes. Absolutely 5 minutes. I take it out and I'll do it on the tail. I don't have a tailgate. I just got this car, so I don't have a tailgate, but I had a tailgate before, and I do a lot of tailgate operating. And it's all right here. It just makes it real. I would not hike with this thing. The box itself probably goes, anybody who owns one of these knows the box goes about 10 pounds. So you start throwing all this in, and next thing you know, you got a 35-pound box. But it works for me. It's quick, it's efficient. Here in Connecticut, the parks are close and they're small, and sometimes that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a, quick hit. My original Palm, I've got 2 of these, just in case I decide to send with both hands. And
Hank, what's your speed? What do you run at?
I usually activate at 22.
Everyone has their favorite chair. This kind of doubles, if you know what I mean. So, because not every place has a place where you can properly go, and when you gotta go for whatever reason.
Well, don't swing it around too hard.
It's empty and clean. Sure. It is. No, it's empty and clean. This is something that the soda guys use a lot. campers use it, or for people in tents, they like to lay down. I really like this because you go sit on a park bench, a picnic table, and it's wet from the night before and then morning dew, then your ass is all wet. This is great. Plus it gives you a little cushion from sitting there for an hour or 2 hours making contact. You will see a lot of these Night Eyes wraps in my stuff. I live by these things. I wish I had the patent on these like Post-it notes or something. I got a video on it on my YouTube, shameless plug, Smoke Signals RF. But I love these things. All sizes, all colors. They're all around my house using from not only ham radio stuff. You know, and when my family members at Christmas say, "What do you want?" I want more Night Eyes. Started off like everybody else with a simple 7300 or whatever your favorite rig. I decided to go. I had this box just kicking around doing nothing, and this box has changed like 5 times already. I'm on version 5 right now. Some guys like the bigger ones. I think it's too much weight. But this is pretty much what I do. I'm sitting on a tailgate, or I'm sitting on a picnic bench, or I have a camping table back there. Various antennas, okay? Like Hank and many others, the ham stick is a very affordable, get you on the air. I personally have had failures with a single mag mount. I went to Amazon, I bought the tri-mag, I went into Home Depot, bought the little piece of a sheet metal, threw it on there, don't even need a tuner, and last week half of my POTA contacts were working a stick and working that stick there. I didn't have to even do the wire. Was it because of band conditions? I don't know, but if something is working, you stick with it for a while, okay? But this is a nice, inexpensive way of getting on the air, playing, whether it's for POTA, local rag chew, DX, and around the country stuff, whatever. That one's for 40, this one's for 20, and yes, you have to physically screw them on, screw them off. If that's the worst of my day, oh well. I've been fooling around with this antenna from Buddy Pole. This is called the Buddy Stick Pro. I really like it. This thing, guys, when I tell you this thing goes up in 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, it goes up in 5 to 7 minutes. Very versatile. And this is an active radio. It's not a counterpoise wire. You do not want this on the ground. And this from Home Depot, again for $3. I think every ham should have a couple of these along with a tent stakes. This thing will technically, they say it'll do 10 through 40. I found better luck on 10 through 20. There's a bigger coil that they make for 40. I can do 40, but the efficiency is not all that great, Anthony. It's good. I'll make contacts, but I know it's not great. But for 20 meters, man. So what I really like, and Hank really said it before too, you can't go wrong with a wire antenna. So this is obviously in the sloper configuration right now. I could also run this as a inverted V. I have found no difference. I'm not an engineer. If somebody is smarter than me, please tell me why maybe an inverted V would work better. But I have found no difference as of yet. And all I do, again, I had the hitch mount already. Amazon. This is not for ham radio, this bar. This is for flags. It's cheaper. You put a ham radio name on it and the price goes up for some reason. You put something that says military, DOD, public safety, and then the price goes up. I don't know why. It is what it is, the way of the world. I don't agree with it. Okay? But this thing here is made for flags. This was 30 bucks on Amazon. Before I started buying what I call the professional push-up masts, I was just using, believe it or not, fishing poles, whatever. Get on the air. Get it up. And listen, and if they work and they continue to work for you, then you don't need to buy this stuff. But stuff was breaking on me. Either it was operator error on my part, or I was really using the wrong device for what I really wanted to use. But I went with this company called MGS. I like the locking on the mast, and you can see now this has been up for a couple hours and it hasn't moved. And that's just a simple wire antenna from a guy by the name of Steve, NI4L in the Carolinas. He makes these antennas all day long. Now that's all personal choice, but I'm a true believer. It's all about your antenna. And if I could put up the wire antenna versus putting up a stick, I'm gonna do that. Obviously this is gonna be my go-to. But if I can't or don't want to, I have another tool to still get on the air and have fun.
The next section of the video is what I'm going to call the potpourri section. There's a mishmash of useful information, tips, and tricks here that just didn't fit neatly either in the introduction or in the show and tell part of the video, so here it is now.
Steve and I have been playing POTA. This is the first time we've met in what, 2 years?
Yeah, at least.
Two to 3 years. But this is our mapping guy. So if you say, hey, listen, I found this state park, national, federal, wildlife refugee, help me out, state trails?
Yeah, it's got to be state or federal. And currently, Jason and John they're focusing on globally now, because we did a big push over the past 2 years. Don was a bunch of help. Dennis, I talked to a bunch of you guys, getting it all squared away. I had to do quite the maneuvering, and they've kind of closed that window. We're still doing repairs. Like if you get somewhere, like Dennis and I were just talking about one last week, that the mapping is not correct. That I'm still working with. I'm hoping we'll get back in. If there's any changes, like the government, DEP gets a purchase, or the federal, there's no federal stuff really in Connecticut. A little bit, but nothing that's on the books. If a park becomes unusable anymore for whatever reason, whether it's a safety reason, there's some in Rhode Island, actually there's safety reasons that they no longer use. If you've already activated that park, the scores are all good. That never goes away. Park will remain on the POTA list. It'll just become inactive, because you'll see active or inactive.
And then you use our friend called Google or whatever other Bing map you want to use, and you can really see where your boundaries are. Especially if there's those things called twofers, where there's two parks that overlap, touch, or whatever. But again, it's
many in Connecticut. People think there's more than there are, and there's a lot of confusion about what
there is. Some guys have probably been operating not according to the official rules.
The most likely twofer is going to be a trail through a park. That's
a river.
The river through the park.
The waterway, or a trail through a park. That's
right.
going to be
as
really
well
the
as,
only one.
As well as you got to be, for instance, Devil's Hop Yard, 8 Mile River, that's the river that goes through, but you got to be within 100 feet of the river.
Right.
They keep it legal.
You're perfect.
Right.
But there's other places all over the park where you're no good for a twofer.
Right, you're no good for a twofer. So again, guys, we're on the honor system. For those you don't know who've heard of the program, Summits on the air soda. We actually have some sodas here in Connecticut. They're not the big 7-9 pointers that you see out west in other parts of the country and around the world. But Meriden area, Litchfield County, so you can actually almost do both. I'd have to look at the POTA map to see which ones cross.
Does Castle Craig qualify?
No, it's not on there. However, though,
yeah, but close to it,
Higbee, yes. But sodas is requirements are different. We can come into a park, don't even have to get out of our vehicle, sit in the parking lot, we can operate right from our vehicle, even if it's inside, if it's 0-degree weather. Okay, soda says no, you're getting your butt out of that vehicle, and I don't care whether you got to walk a half a mile or 5 miles or whatever it is to that mountaintop to actually get into the activation zone. So their requirements for their program are different. It's not for everybody. I'm a fat guy. I'm not walking. You know what I mean? That far. Yeah, that far. I'll do a little walking. But again, there are some similarities that I think I use YouTube, guys, a lot as a great library. And again, opinions are like noses on YouTube. But you could see you can get some good ideas to say, okay, well, I don't got to climb up to the 10 or 10,000 foot level, but I want to operate POTA. So grab an idea from and make it your own. Make it work for you. But Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, we talked about soda, mixing that in. I just talked to a couple fellas there this summer, July. I did Bromley Mountain on the Appalachian Trail, so I hiked the Appalachian Trail 3 miles with my Zygo G90, and a antenna didn't work so great, but it did work. I did get the activation done. So that's the Appalachian Trail. The Bromley Summit is within Hagwood State Forest, and it's also with the Soda Summit. So I mentioned soda when I first got on the air, because there's not a lot of soda activity around in New England, but there is some. But then I just go ahead with the Parks on the Air activation, and I just log it. The soda website is significantly different the way you log. I just log everything in, and that was good to go. So that was actually, I don't know if you call it a threefer or not.
I do 80-meter work on almost every activation. The local guys, somebody from Massachusetts, they always thank you. They say, oh, I wanted Connecticut, it's very hard to get. But with the long antenna, it's easy to get 80 meters. And I can get 10 or 12 80-meter contacts, and then that kind of peters out because you're in a relatively small radius. But then you get on 40 meters, I get 60 there, go to 20, you can get 60 more. But I wasn't getting that with the 20-foot vertical, and I wasn't getting that with the 20-foot dipole. So this is my go-to antenna when space allows.
Why is Connecticut hard to get?
Well, if you live nearby, 20 meters and even 40 meters will bounce right over the top. So by going to 80 meters, it kind of eliminates the skip zone.
Don't forget 6.
Oh, and 6 meters. Yes, we all want 6 meters. We need to get 10 6-meter contacts here today. The local hams in the Meriden Club, they're always saying to me, you go out, but I can't work you. And they're a little indignant about it. and you know, they have supported us a lot on summits on the air and parks on the air with the early activations. A couple of guys in the club were going out trying to figure out what's going on. It's nice to have somebody local who you can work them on 146.520 or something and get your 10 in the logbook. Once you know what you're doing, it's not that big a deal. So the club members absolutely supported me and the other activators a lot. So, you know, you want to give them their due, but now I can get on 80 meters and pretty much anywhere in the state I can call back to the club.
And the reason why we have been doing this with POTA is because Bean's a technician, and so she doesn't get on the HF bands at all. It's kind of a dual purpose because not only can we do POTA, but for satellite operators, grid squares, getting different grid squares is important. So when we're operating at home, this isn't our setup. We have a dual M2 sat pack antennas up on the roof with a rotator, and it'll automatically track the satellites. When we're out at a park, she's usually operating the radio, and I'm the human rotator pointing this guy.
Anthony, how much satellite work for POTA? Are you like 90% or 100%? Where are you as far as POTA mode? What?
Mostly I do HF single sideband. I have a extra class license, and I've been dabbling in CW lately, so I've been doing a lot of park activation only on CW. But because Bean's got a technician class license, whenever we're going out and doing POTA, and I don't want to be selfish, we bring this with us.
I'm 100% satellite when I do POTA.
You are. I was just going to ask, so you're 100% satellite.
100%.
Satellite operators are trying to get all the grids in the United States for a Gridmaster Award. And FN31, we've got covered. There's a whole bunch of satellite operators in FN31, which is where we are today. FN33 up in Vermont, that one's a bit more rare because there's no satellite operators in that grid square, and it's all mountains. So anywhere there's civilization, there's a valley. It's very hard to make satellite contacts. We went roving in May, was it May?
May, yeah.
May up to FN33, and Okemo was open. The road up there was open. So we were driving and setting up on one side of the mountain to hit Europe, and then when there was another pass on the other side of the mountain, we'd drive over to the other parking spot on the top of the mountain and shoot over to the west coast. So as you can imagine, there was quite the pileup for Bean when she was calling out when we were on top of the mountain. The other place where we've rove 2 other places, FN51 is on the Cape, and most of it is ocean. So FN51 is a sliver of land that there's no satellite operators on. So we roved there, again, I think in May, and there was, again, a pileup for Bean. And the last place we rove to is FN21 in New York. It's not a challenging grid square, it's just that there's no satellite operators.
At one time or another, you're going to get, besides the public coming up to you, what are you doing? You're going to get the Rangers. We want to keep the Rangers happy, obviously, right?
Yep.
I don't know about you guys, but one of the things I say, yeah, come on over. You want to talk to somebody here in Ohio or whatever, it throws them off. Unless you get the hard screw.
Yeah.
Unless you get the hard screw, guys, of what are you doing, but I've never encountered anybody, even during hardcore COVID, when I was up at Gillette State Castle, the commanding officer for Deep. I mean, this is the guy, for any who have been in the military, the pleats were so good on his pants. And the shirt was so, you know what I mean? And the nicest guy, though. Very intimidating at first. And all he said is just be careful with people around you. And then of course I said, you sure you don't want? I said, I'll wipe the microphone down. And he actually took the microphone. and being the control operator, we let him make a contact. That's good. If that's not, again, we're all ambassadors here. I have found 8.5 by 11. If you do it in bullets, it's a lot easier for people who are going to be there for in front of you maybe for 5 to 8 minutes versus giving them paragraphs. Dumb it down. Dumb it down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the POTA one's real simple. Just
Yeah.
this is ham radio.
Keep it
this
simple.
Is Parks on the Air.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah. This is Parks on the Air.
And lots of white space.
Yes, yeah, really. And keep it simple for them, because maybe they'll know an uncle who used to be a ham radio. You know how it goes. Yeah, and they're going to tell you too. My uncle did that. My uncle was in the war. My brother was in the war. Again, hey, and it opens doors, especially for kids. We all know, especially when it comes to the kids. You know, kids' brains are moving 1,000 miles a minute, especially in today compared to where we were when we were kids. You know, back in the 70s and 80s. You know what I mean? And maybe a little bit older. Again, it's a revolving door, but maybe when these kids when they become adults of 25, 30. Yeah, I remember that ham radio thing I did with the Scouts or whatever, or we saw them in the park a lot. And all of a sudden, now they're getting interested. Like I said earlier, I've been doing this now, but I'm still learning. I started off very, very simple. Started off in my backyard hunting. I love to hunt as much as I love to activate. So that's something that we haven't really said about, because we're always talking about activating, and we're under the assumption we're at a park. There's nothing wrong from you hunting from your house, hunting from your backyard, hunting from your back porch. Or some days I'll go out in the morning, get 30 to 200 contacts, come home, and guess what I'm doing again? You know, grabbing a cigar, sitting on the back porch, but maybe doing it a little bit differently, obviously. Let's talk about drones real quick, okay? I'm a big drone guy. I love a drone, UAV, okay? But we can't operate them here, right, as we know of right now here in the state of Connecticut in our parks, okay? It's a shame, okay? I got a buddy in Texas. He puts all his stuff out on YouTube. He's a big POTA guy. The shots are incredible. We can't do it right now. So again, don't get yourself in trouble. Don't ruin your day because you want to sneak in a drone footage. Someone's going to narc you out. You will get busted. That thing, even as quiet as it can be, someone's going to notice it. Someone's going to make a phone call, probably to 911, or they may know the ranger. You know what happens. Don't ruin your day just to get that shot. I don't know what the Connecticut rule is of attaching a wire in a tree.
I don't think it's illegal.
I know in some states it's a huge no-no. I mean, it literally says it in their guidelines, rules of that park. I don't know what it is in Connecticut. I've never tested it. Never had to really. I mean, I've actually been in this park where I've actually used a tree in one of these trees before. But again, I did it where I was at the 6 foot level, where I was able to just a quick slip knot. That's it. Yeah, nothing crazy.
Law says no permanent damage.
What is it? No permanent damage?
No permanent damage. So you can hang a wire as long as it's not going to damage the tree.
Right.
So having that arbor line is the way to go, or 550 cord. But if you're putting a nail or something into the tree, that's a no-go.
Right. Now at my house, I have one of these Famatic PVC. They call them the potato guns.
We left all that at home.
Yeah, I don't bring them out here. That's for home. That's for for the field days. That's for helping a friend, kind of a thing. I mean that thing will launch up to 100, 150 feet. That thing will put a 2-ounce sinker through a human body. I've used the arbor, the arbor pouches. Have you guys? Am I saying that correctly? The arbor pouch. I've used that a few times just at the house. I don't have a lot of strength in arm due to an injury here. So I just don't, but for other guys, they make it look easy. Between the fishing pole, the arrow. What does everybody use for logging? Show of hands. N1, MM, hammers. It's not portable, it's on a desktop, laptop. ACP, Rick Davis. You guys know what I'm talking about?
AC log.
Yeah, yes. You guys use that?
AC log at home. I log in the field to paper transcribe at home.
But I was gonna say, because I started using that. I used to run paper. I keep it as a backup, but paper, go home, and when you're hitting 3 to 7 parks a day, and you're gonna go home afterwards and start putting this stuff in. It just got to be like crazy for me, and I was making mistakes. Yeah. I was making mistakes and guys were calling me out saying, hey, wait a minute. The log's got uploaded. Now you got to read. Then you got to contact the POTA coordinator.
A lot depends on mode there too. I mean, if you're running, you know, a digital mode, or if you're running, you know, even sideband, and you have a headset with a mic, you've got hands free. When I'm running CW, I've got one hand on the radio, one hand on the key, a pen in my hand, a pad on my lap.
Multitasking, to say the least.
You know, it's a little different.
Yeah.
On the POTA website, there's a link to a video on how to set up that AC log.
There is. But a lot of guys are not using it, John, believe it or not. And it's sad because because I use it for winter field day and I use it for regular field day. And again, it's you configure it what you want to see for your tabs as well as other features. And it's unfortunate guys don't use it. I don't know if Scott Davis will actually do it. I know this guy Jared who's doing the hammers log. I'm sold on hammers. I'm sold on it. I'm running it right there on the iPad. To me, it's just like being at work on 911, being a dispatcher. Information's coming into my ear. It's processing. It's going right out into some type of data form. The only thing I'll tell everybody, if you're not doing it, get yourself what's called ADIF Master. ADIF Master. Bring your logs into that and just do a quick overview. These guys are volunteers. They're getting hundreds of logs, if not thousands of logs a month. Okay. The last report was over 260,000 contacts were made in POTA in the month of September. So you know how many logs that is. That's a lot of zeros going one way.
And I got to tell you, Jay's doing a fantastic job with the one region.
He really is. Jay and that group are fantastic. Rory was doing good. Rory had to step down and everything.
Busy.
But you know something, Jay is just phenomenal. Stuff is getting turned around in a fast time period.
If you do go out, if you do go out, and you guys all know in the rules, read the rules, but if you go out and you make one contact, put a log in, because that could make somebody's day, that contact, and it all counts towards the hunters.
Now, it's been a long time since I saw any satellite activations in person, so this was kind of a neat thing to watch. I hope you guys enjoy watching the next few clips as much as I enjoyed recording them.
CQ POTA, this is Kilo Charlie 1, Mike Echo Bravo, and Park Kilo 1676.
Kilo Delta 8, Romeo Sierra Hotel.
Kilo Delta 8, Romeo Sierra Hotel. You're coming in a full 5-9 into Park Kilo 1676 in Connecticut. And what state are you in?
Michigan, and Grid Square and Echo, November 7-2, and you're a good 5-9 into Michigan.
Thank you for the 5-9 into Michigan. QSL.
73, thanks for the activation.
73, QRZ. WA4 VOC, this is Kilo Charlie 1, Mike Echo Bravo. You're about a 5-2 into Park Kilo 1676. Thank you for the Echo Mike 78 into Kentucky. QSL, QRZ. CQ POTA, this is Kilo Charlie 1, Mike Echo Bravo, Park Kilo 1676, Fox November 31.
53, Fox Golf Papa.
Fox Golf Papa, come again?
Whiskey 3, Fox Short Golf Papa. Fox Mike 18.
Whiskey 3, Fox Golf Papa, this is Kilo Charlie 1, Mike Echo Bravo. I'm in Park Kilo 1676, which is Fox November 31 in Connecticut. And what state are you in?
Maryland. I'm in the state of Maryland. Over.
Thank you for the Maryland. And my reception report? CQ, this is Kilo Charlie 1, Mike Echo Bravo, calling CQ POTA. I heard a Fox November 21. You're a little off frequency. Come again? Kilo Delta 2, Mike Delta Sierra, Fox November 21. I copy. Do you copy Fox November 31? 7-3.
So I've left some links down in the description below in case you guys are interested in learning more about POTA or POTA in Connecticut. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up.